And welcome into the Lincoln Playbook. I'm Garrett Mathangani, joined in by the head coach of the Lincoln Golden Bears, Coach Brad Wallace. And Coach, we always hate to talk after these kind of games. It was a tough game in Week 5 against your arch rivals from Montford. Just talk about overall. You got a chance to digest that game a little bit. Everything that happened Friday night.
Well, I mean, after you sit in and you turn the tape on and you watch yourself, and we've made enough mistakes in that ball game. I mean, and we've actually shown it to our kids already, and they've had an opportunity to look at it. And I mean, there were a lot of opportunities that we had that we just didn't take advantage of, and our kids understand that. And I mean, and it's one of those deals. I came in and I basically told them, I said, guys, and half of that belongs to me, half of it belongs to you. Let's work this thing out.
Right.
And let's pick up our pieces, because I think after our Alexandria win, comeback win, I think we relaxed a little bit, and I think I even did that. I relaxed a little bit on the field, and I should have taken some more. A better judgment in how we handled our practices those weeks, and got ourselves a little bit better.
Right. You always talk about learning lessons in wins or in losses, in victory and defeat. What are some of the things that you want to be able to take from this, both as a coaching staff and as a team?
As a coaching staff, I really think preparation is one thing that we've got to do a little bit better at on these big time ball games. We got one coming up, and I'm not looking over Hayden, but we've got one coming up in 2 weeks.
Right.
And I told our kids we've got to make up a couple weeks of practice. We've got to get ourselves better. And this weekend we've got to work on us, and that's our main deal. And I know it's hard for a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid to understand. Hey, coach, we just won the ball game, but you're saying we still got to get better, and it's hard to understand. But it's a mature. I guess what you could say is taking on the season is just working to get better each week.
For sure. When we take a look at the context of this game, and you look at it from 1,000 feet away, is one of the Montford game is the Week 5 game. It's the non-region game. It's not even classification game. It is the big rivalry, as you know, both personally and professionally. But in the grand scheme, you're still in the hunt for everything you want as far as playoffs and all that go. Is it easier to refocus after that, knowing that it's one of those things where it's not like it used to be, like where it's a region game?
Well, the things that I've noticed already. I mean, even after coming back from that game and visiting with our team and watching the film with us, our kids were very mature today, and about coming in and watching the tape, and it wasn't as much of they were focused in on, hey, we did make this mistake, and we saw this, and we're going to do this, and I told them, I said, guys, half of it belongs to me because I'm supposed to get you ready for these games. But the other half is we got to take a mature mentality and get ourselves ready for games each week.
Absolutely, and you have Hayden coming up this week. It's the start of 2 straight games on the road, 3 out of 4 on the road. Is there a different mentality knowing that, hey, we have a grind coming up?
Well, we know that, and when we took the season on, I said, guys, enjoy the first 5 ball games, because that second half is going to be we're going to be on a traveling ban for a little while, and we've only got 1 home game in the second half, and it'd be our senior night against Springville. But I mean, we're in the second half of the season. We've got to improve. We've got to get ourselves better, and I mean, looking at it from the outside looking in, I mean, our game 7 is going to be our region playoff probably. I mean, it's going to be a big time ball game for us.
Absolutely. We'll get into that in just a little bit, but first we want to thank some fantastic sponsors of the Lincoln Playbook. One of our main and favorite ones, the Luxury Auto Parts. They've been in business now for the last 15 years. Lee McLean is the owner of the business, has over 20 years of experience in the car business. They sell rebuildable wrecks and have any part that you might need. Their part yard is over 50 acres wide. They also have ready-to-go cars at the LA auction in Lincoln. You can call them at 205-763-1084 or 888-589-PARTS, or visit them online, luxuryautoparts.com. We're back with more of the Playbook after the break. We're back with the Lincoln Playbook, and coaches, take a look at first half highlights. There is nothing better than going on the field, Lincoln versus Montford.
It's not. I mean, it's a great environment. I mean, both stands were packed. It was a playoff atmosphere for this ball game, And when we started the game off hot, I mean, our kids came out and we had a first possession on offense, and I think we go 40 yards down the field with Zay Caldwell off the edge. We just ran a little stretch play with the quarterback, and it worked for us. And we had that play a good bit for the night. We just one or two players off and missing a block or doing some things
Absolutely.
that wasn't right.
Right, and you saw Mason here last weekend, and here he starts the game off with a huge field goal.
Oh man, I mean, and I told him when I first took the job at Lincoln, I said, man, you better get ready because I'm going to use you. And I said, if you can make those 42 yarders, you can make them. Well, he made me a 43 the other night, and he did a great job with it.
Absolutely, and they look like they wanted to really start off running the football, and you really stopped that to a large degree.
We did at the beginning, and I'm going to tell you something. They kept grinding, and give them credit. I mean, they had some great runs throughout this ball game.
And then here Zay, with the big arm, he just overshot his receiver just a little bit.
Just a little bit. If he had probably taken a little bit off of it, it would probably been a great pass. The guy was on top of the route. Probably should have threw it to his back shoulder, and that way he could have turned and took the ball in. It's a great play by John Tavis Johnson on that one.
And it was a physical ball game as well.
Oh, it was all night long. The pads were popping. It's one of those ball games that you want to be a part of. It really is.
Absolutely. You see Zay there getting on the outside, and you end up, taking this one in for 6 on this drive, and then you start off, really hot at the beginning of the game. You scored, 2 quick touchdowns, 2 quick points, 1 by field goal, 1 by touchdown.
Yeah, and I mean, right now, I think we've got the momentum going in our direction. We're doing the right things on the field. I had a little squib kick right here. Mason kind of missed that one just a little bit, but other than that, they had a quick play, a little trickery play right here that kind of got us off guard a little bit, and it kind of got us in a bad situation right at the beginning of the game. I mean, it was 9-7 right there. And so we're having to fight our way back into this ball game.
Right, and you always talk about big plays and how you want to get big explosive plays and try to prevent them from getting explosive plays. Do you think that was part of the key to the game?
I think it was, and I'm gonna tell you something. Mumford had some explosive plays, and we had some too. We just didn't have the ones that we normally did. I think our passing yardage was not very good at all in this ball game, and that kind of falls back on. Hey, we didn't make our big plays like we normally do, and they took that away from us.
Right, and then last week was a situation where you played really good pass defense, and you played really, really well as far as pass defense in this game as well. And then you get a big stop here on 4th down.
Yes, sir. I mean, we went with punt safe on our punt return, and our kids came back out, and Mario's running the ball hard there, and we had a little issue in the second quarter that kind of got Mario winded because of not having a backup in that game, but the kids kept fighting through this first half
and scored another touchdown there to go up by 3 scores basically in this game, and you get another great kick by Mason. So you have to be feeling really good up at this point, 16-7.
Yes, sir. And I'm an intense guy. I tell the kids all the time, unless we got a comfortable score, I'm not comfortable. and But I think sometimes they look at me like, well, Coach, we're winning 16-7, but I'm always understanding. Hey, people can come back on us. We had that little deal happen to us about Game 3 this year.
Right, and that's one of the best receivers in the state. So you know he's gonna make a big play.
Oh, he's gonna make his plays, and that's one thing that we did. We already talked about at the beginning of the year. I mean, before this game even started, was hey, they're gonna have big plays. They've got playmakers on the field. We're gonna have to limit their plays.
Right. And this is obviously one of these kind of games where like you were talking about how not necessarily first half leads don't mean anything, but you just have to protect them a little bit differently as you take a 3-point lead to halftime.
That's exactly right. And going in at halftime right on this game, I mean we had a lead. We weren't playing the best ball that we could have played in the first half, and all we're doing is basically trying to get our kids to regroup and say, hey, it's 0-0. Let's go out in the second half and let's finish this game like we're supposed to.
We ask you this, after the first half highlights, always, when you saw on film Munford all week and then you saw what they did in the first half, was there a lot of adjustments that had to be made? Is there basically running some of the same things you saw?
There was 1 or 2 things that we had to adjust defensively. Offensively, we knew we were going to have everybody in the box. I mean, we know that's going to happen pretty much every week. But the thing that they took away from us, they took our short passing game away from us right at the beginning, and that kind of got us in a bind. So but we try to make up some stuff. Well, didn't make up anything. We just try to adjust some things at halftime for our offense to start selling away in third and fourth quarter.
And when you talked about, from your team, what you wanted to see in the second half, was it more of, hey, let's just keep doing what we have been doing because you got off to that good start?
Well, and I tried to stay as positive as I could with these guys at halftime. I mean, it's a border war,
right?
And I mean, they're having is probably the most intense game that they'll play this year, and I just try to keep them up and try to keep them going and say, hey guys, we got 2 more quarters. Let's go finish this thing now.
Right. And then obviously, we talk about games like this, and you have to almost cool players' heads down because it is such a big rivalry game. It's like the Alabama and Auburn of high school football in this area. Is that a different kind of psychological battle?
Well, the main thing I was trying to do is on as far as cooling their heads is when you lose your head, you lose your focus.
Right.
And big plays will start happening.
Right.
And that's a little bit of what happened in this second half. I think we lost our head, lost our cool a little bit, but we're going to work on that kind of thing this week and make sure that we understand, hey, when big-time ball games, you can't make those silly mistakes in games.
Absolutely. We're back with the second half highlights. We'll also look ahead to Week 6 as Lincoln takes on Hayden. All that is more here on the Lincoln Playbook. Welcome back to the Lincoln Playbook. You take a look at second half highlights of Lincoln and Munford. And Coach, it looks like when they started off in the third quarter, they really wanted to get their short game passing going on.
They wanted to start off quick. I think they were trying to hit some quick strikes on us at the beginning of the second half, which every great offensive team is going to try to do that to try to get something going in first of the second half, so that the momentum's already changed over to them.
And that was a big 4th and 1 there. You had them bottled up exactly where you wanted them.
We did a good job of bottling it up. We just didn't take care of the edge on that, and we ran our goal line package there, and I think we had one guy that just, you go into this ball game and you look back at it, it's like 1 or 2 players here or there,
right,
and it makes the decision of what happens on the plays.
Right. And they always talk about football as one of those games where you play maybe 70, 80, 100 something snaps, but really 4 or 5 of them make up the difference in the game. You just don't know when those 4 or 5 are coming.
You don't know when they're going to come out, and you can't predict when that's going to happen.
Right.
So and that's the great thing about this game is you got to be a disciplined football team, and you got to do the right things every time. So.
Right. And then they come out, and obviously, they want to get to the point where they're scoring, and they come out with a 2 touchdown lead. But talk about your kids' fight to, hey, we punched them in the mouth, then they came back and punched us. Now let's swing again.
Now let's get back on it. And I tell you, in the fourth quarter, I thought we started back. We regrouped. Mm-hmm. We got ourselves back, got our minds right again, and we drove it down the field and put it in the end zone. We had an opportunity right there, and we actually went back out on defense, and I think we got a 3 and out, if I'm not mistaken. And
right.
We have our offense on the field at the end of the ball game.
Absolutely, and Zay coming up with another big play there. He ends up putting this one in for 6, and that's got to be such a strong weapon to know that, hey, when the passing game isn't quite there, he can also use his legs.
Yeah, and we've got a running quarterback, and that always puts stress on the defense every time.
Right.
So.
And then also credit to your offensive line as well, being able to block.
Exactly. We've been getting better, and we had a decent game, but it wasn't one of our best, and that was one of the things that we saw in the film today that we know we've got correct, and we've got to quit making mental errors.
Absolutely, and Jamario comes up with a big play there to make it 4th down, to give this a 6-point lead for Munford. It's 29-26 with 3 minutes to go and a shot to win the ball game. You give yourself a chance to win.
That's right. We've got them out on downs. They kick a field goal. We've got the ball back, and we're in the basically the catbird seat, trying to get back down the field, trying to get a score right here.
Right, and you actually come up with some pretty big plays here on this drive to get yourself in position too.
Yeah, we had a little reverse play that we implemented about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's been good to us, but we try not to use it. Try not to have to use it all the time, but
right.
It worked out well for us on that play.
Absolutely, and in the games like this and situations like this, everything's heightened. Nerves are heightened, and anticipation is heightened. And you have 24 seconds. You try to just try to make a play there at the end of the game.
You're trying to put it in, and that kid's got a lot more football in him this year, Zay. And I know he was down and out at the end of the ball game, but He's gonna come back and he's gonna rebound. I know what kind of kid he is, and he's not gonna let that get to him.
Absolutely. So you see a 6-point win by Montford. You talked about being able to kind of refocus, be able to regroup, and look ahead to the other parts of the season. See what happened in this game, what you did well, and what you can improve on, and then work on that for next week. So just talk about some of the things you want to see some in practice this week as you prepare for Hayden.
Well, our main thing is us. If we can correct us, we'll be fine. Don't worry about. We're going to worry about our opponents, but we're going to worry about. Hey, we've got to get this blocking scheme straightened out. We've got to cut down on missed tackles. That was one of the big things that we had in this ball game. And we're going to regroup, and we're going to work on our team as a whole and try to get us in the best predicament we can be in for Friday.
Absolutely. And now you step into region play as well, and these games really starting to get heightened, like you talked about towards the end of the season, and now you're starting to put yourself in a position where you can, get to the playoffs and get a good seed as well.
Well, the main thing is to get a good seed. I mean, we went to the playoffs last year, and we had that long bus ride up to J.O. Johnson.
Right.
And that's not a fun way to go.
Right.
And I mean, when you take the bus ride on the first round, you already know you're in tough ground right then. But our kids, we've got a mindset that we're going to get better, and our kids, when I talked to them today, they were all focused in on, hey, coach, what can we do? So that's what I want to see out of them on Monday, and I want to see that work through this week. And I mean, we've got the rest of the season ahead of us, and as well as I do, I'm always the one that always says, yeah, we may win the ball game, but we've got things we've got to correct.
Absolutely. So. We saw all the players that made plays in the highlights. Talk about some players that might not have, been, in the highlight part of it that were some key outstanding performers on Friday night.
Well, we had some guys step up at defensive end. Lennon Higginbotham, he's one of them that we've rotated from a linebacker's position to a defensive end, and he's showing some signs that he can help us there. We had Lamar Fonby, he helped us out on the interior defensive line, gave Blanton and Big D a little opportunity to take a break on the inside. And I mean, these guys are getting better, and we're starting to see a little more depth there. We've just got to find us some depth in our DB field.
Right.
So.
Absolutely. Coming up here on the next segment of the Lincoln Playbook, you will meet one of the seniors, one of the leaders of this team, Austin Blanton, along the offensive line. Heard a lot from him. Also saw him in our Pigskin Roundup magazine. He'll be with us on set here on the Lincoln Playbook. Join us. And welcome back to the Lincoln Playbook. We are proud to have several sponsors with the Lincoln Playbook. One of them is the Lincoln Booster Club. Proud to support the Lincoln Golden Bear football team and wish Coach Brad Wallace, his staff, and the players the best of luck this season. Lincoln, of course, is a close-knit, hard-working community, and the Booster Club is a great reflection of the Lincoln community as a whole. They meet every Monday evening at 6:30 p.m. at Rick's Crossroads Cafe. Any prospective member is welcome to attend. The cafe is located at the intersection of Highway 77 and 78 up on the hill. The Lincoln Booster Club also supports all sports at Lincoln High School. We're back here on the Playbook, and we're joined by offensive lineman Austin Blanton. And Austin, we've talked to you over the course of the summer. You did a part for us in our Pigskin Roundup magazine, also at the Talladega County Media Days over at the Super Speedway. First off, just talk about this rivalry. Lincoln versus Montford. You've been in this community your entire life.
It's something you wouldn't really understand unless you've actually been a part of it for a while.
Right.
Everybody in the community was wanting us to win. At that show, we had unlimited support from everybody in the community, and we went to practice. We practiced hard all week and got prepared for the game.
Absolutely. You play in the trenches. You play, that left tackle position. The physicality of Lincoln versus Montford, the physicality of playing 5A football in general. Just talk about the kind of the day in, day out grind, game in, game out grind as well.
Well, I don't think it's been that much of a change. We was in 4A last year, moved to 5A.
Right.
I don't think the physicality has been that much different, but in Montford Lincoln game, you always know there's going to be some hard licks in that game.
Right.
So what you expect.
Absolutely. Let's talk off the field. Some stuff that you like to do, some hobbies you like to get into, just things that you do just to hang out and pass the time.
This time of year is watching college football most of the time.
Absolutely. Coach, talk about Austin and what he brings to this football team.
Austin's one of my I guess you could call him one of my bell cows.
Right.
He's always one of the one of the offensive linemen that's always leading the group that's over there. He's my senior that's on the line. He's my only. Well, I've got one more that stepped in and kind of got a little starting role. But he's one of those guys that. It doesn't matter what kind of day he's had. You're gonna get what you're gonna get.
Right.
And I mean, he's gonna give you everything he's got. And I think that's his main leadership quality. I mean, he's not one of those guys that's going to go out there and scream and yell and do that kind of thing, but he's going to get excited on the field, and it's fun to watch him play because he's so intense.
Right.
Even in practice, you'll look around and he'll have a guy on the ground and I mean just rolled up, and that's what you want as an offensive lineman, and that's what he leads by out there. He's got that example that he shows the younger guys.
For sure. Austin, you have been in several situations with different coaches, and here in the last couple of years you've been able to have Coach Wallace, to have this crew that's been here for the last 2 years. As a senior and as one of the guys who's been a leader on this team, just talk about just the leadership that it took, the maturity that it took for this team to kind of grow with Coach together, and now you're starting to see some of the rewards of that, with this 3-2 record so far.
Well, of course it's been tough throughout our whole career. We've had 3 or 4 different head coaches, but it's a great feeling to have him and the rest of the staff back for this season. Something we've never felt before, and it's a good feeling because we're stepping back into basically the same offense, same defense,
right,
all of that. So we know what to expect, and we know how to make it better than we were last year.
Right. Talk about this week, being able to refocus and put this Munford game behind you and be able to refocus on the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, if we just sit around and mope about losing this game, we're not going to get nowhere. So we're just going to go back on the field Monday afternoon, get back to work, and try to do something against Hayden this weekend.
For sure. Coach, you have Hayden, and just like Austin said, you have Hayden this week. I know you at this point, as we're shooting today, you haven't seen a ton of film on them, but what do you expect out of this group?
I see an aggressive group. I've actually watched a lot of tape on them already, trying to get ready for this game because you don't really want to let down this week. And I tell you, I sat down and I probably watched more tape this weekend than I probably have in a long time, just to make sure that that everything was done correctly. But what I keep seeing out of them is very aggressive. I mean, one thing that they're always pursuing to the ball. They're always on top of things. They might not have the winning record, but the thing is I keep seeing a group that keeps fighting and not letting up. Even though something bad may happen, they still bounce back and do the same and play with that same intensity the next play.
For sure, we'll take a look at the 5A Region 6 standings. You're exactly where you want to be at this point of the season. You're undefeated in the region, and you're right there with Mortimer Jordan as well.
Oh yeah, and we already know. I mean, that ball game. I hadn't looked ahead by any means, but I know what we've got coming to us. We've got them and Moody that are coming to us toward the end of the season in Springville. And but those two, Mortimer Jordan and Moody, kind of stand out to me every time I look at that Region 6 Class 5A I guess record. It just kind of stands out to me that, hey, those are my ball games that we've got to get taken care of, and they're on our second half of the season. Right.
And obviously, like you're saying, you don't want to look ahead to anybody because you don't want one of the teams like Hayden to kind of trip up on you and as look ahead to different parts of the season as well.
That's right. I mean, and the main thing is, and I say it and I say it again, we've got to get better this week.
Right.
And that's our main thing is let's work on us and not have a trip up this week and then. If we can progress for the next couple of weeks when we face Mortimer Jordan, we know it's going to be an intense ball game, and hopefully this ball game that we just got through playing will help us out with that, understanding how we need to handle things.
Right. Last question for you, Austin. Talk about going on the road. It's kind of a grind here in the next 4 weeks. You have 3 road games. Just talk about just the mental focus that it takes to go out there and prepare and perform well on the road.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to be very focused this second half of the season because, just like everybody else does, going on the road and winning is a lot harder than winning at home. You have to deal with other people's fans and stuff, so we're going to have to be very focused for that.
Absolutely. A grind here to end out the season. Coach talked about earlier. It's the second half of the season. Thank you so much, Austin, for joining us here on the Lincoln Playbook. Always thanks to you, Coach Wallace, as well. The Lincoln Golden Bears travel to Hayden. Go out and visit them next Friday. We'll see you right here on the Lincoln Playbook next week. Special thanks to Chad Barnett for shooting this week's highlights. We'll see you next week right here on the Lincoln Playbook. God bless.